So, video games. For the last 10 or 15 years, I've seen playing video games as something that's been a complete waste of my time. Sure, they can be fun, but since I started trying to pull my life together when I restarted university at 23, I've always felt this huge sense of guilt whenever I spent an hour or so playing games. It was as if I just wasted a load of time, and that's time that, to me, was starting to feel like a really limited resource, and that I needed to be using productively somehow, so learning, earning money, or perhaps producing something worthwhile. I'd even have considered social experiences to have been more worthwhile, and that's coming from someone who's lived as a loner for the last decade. I was just in a place where I couldn't see any real point in video games, and that I'd let myself down when I slipped up and played some. And yeah, that was my honest opinion until, well, about a week ago, where I finally discovered a new game, Stardew Valley. This is the first new game I've played in ages, and it's 10 years old. At first, once again, I felt as though I'd wasted my money by buying it. But after a while, a lot of memories came back to me. Memories of before I gave up on truly enjoying video games, and I started to remember that actually video games, they aren't all bad. In fact, there are a lot of positive aspects to spending time playing them that can really help me in life, even as an old millennial loner, and I'd like to go over some of them here. First of all, and perhaps this is one of the most important things, is that playing video games can be a really good way to save money. How can this be though when you have to buy a computer or a games console and then buy the game itself? That alone can run into thousands of pounds or dollars just to get started in some cases. But, well, once you are able to get started, and I mean most people have at least a tablet or a laptop I think these days, then the price per hour of gaming entertainment it's a really good value compared with, say, a movie or even just going out for a meal. Going back to Stardew Valley, I bought it on Steam for £8 I think it was, which must be around $10, and I've already sunk over 50 hours into it. I've not been to the movies since they released 50 Shades of Grey all those years ago, but I'm not sure you can even get a ticket for £8 these days, let alone the hot dog and the popcorn and drink and all that. I know not all games are just one-time purchases though. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day, which has an ongoing monthly subscription charge of, I don't know what it is these days, it was £9 back then. But even then, I remember thinking to myself in 2007 during my first time at university that by playing WoW instead of going out drinking and clubbing, like everyone else, I was definitely saving a huge amount of money. Fortunately though, I have no experience with loot box and these gacha games. I might sound like a boomer here, but that stuff sounds completely crazy to get into to me. Following on from this though, I have on many occasions in the past just found that being really into gaming is a strangely good way to lose some weight and almost stay in shape a bit. I know the stereotypical gamer is from that one South Park episode when they're living in their parents' basement on Doritos and Mountain Dew. But when you really get into a game, it can be all that you think about and all you want to do sometimes. You don't want to waste time going to the shops and buying food and snacks and such when you could be gaming. I remember when the World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King expansion first came out in, was it 2008? I ordered a load of glucose gel and caffeine chewing gum to keep me going for the release. Of course, it wasn't the healthiest life at the time, so I was up for at least 2 days straight at my computer once. Like, when I finally went outside, it felt like I was swimming almost through the air, like the feeling of it on my skin. And to be honest, my personal hygiene did take a bit of a backseat, but they're all things that can be fixed. But back to my point though, I have found on multiple occasions that when gaming can work as a distraction almost to overeating, then I've been able to easily stay at a healthy weight. And this doesn't just apply to food, of course. It can work with any common vices like drinking or corn addiction. Perhaps other things too, like let me know if you found this at all with gaming yourself. The next one might sound a bit contradictory compared with what I've just said, but I found that gaming can, when you get the balance right, it can really help with getting into and staying into a good sleep routine. Of course, it doesn't work if you're, living like an absolute goblin when I was back at my my university World of Warcraft days, but if you can get the balance right, then it can really help. But, well, you know what it's like when you're trying to get back into a good sleeping routine. Like, you go to bed with every intention of, getting up early in the morning at a specific time, but when that time comes, dragging yourself out of bed just feels like this impossible task. And you're lying there thinking to yourself that you had a good go at it, it was a good try, but maybe tomorrow or the day after that it'll be easier, and then you just go off back to sleep and waste another morning. When I've really been into a game in the past, it's actually been the first thing on my mind when I wake up, and that alone makes it easy to get up, regardless of how tired I am, because, well, I want to play. While this can make the rest of your day a bit of a struggle, if you've just had a couple hours sleep, you're awake, completely exhausted but playing games, you can get into whatever routine you want, and, well, that's all thanks to video games. Another area that video games have helped me with a lot is, well, with my mental health. It's not something I like to admit too much or even think about really, but there have been some times in the past where I haven't been doing so well. And it's only recently that I've come to realise that video games, they really helped me through some tough times. So recently, or well, a couple of years ago now, I was actually in a relationship with someone I did care about a lot. I was constantly trying to correct my behaviour though, so whenever any issues came up, just to not cause problems, but unfortunately whatever I did, it never seemed to be enough. Unless I was constantly texting that person 24/7, I was always under some kind of suspicion, like I was doing something wrong, and it really started to grind me down, like anything I did would end up with me being yelled at or something, no matter how small the issue was. I was so stressed all of the time because of this, but one evening I just randomly decided to boot up Skyrim after not playing it for almost 10 years, and just out of nowhere I felt this huge weight had been lifted from me, from my shoulders almost. All of a sudden the petty problems I had seemed so much more distant, like they were somebody else's issues all of a sudden. And it really, really did help me calm down for the first time in months. As soon as I realised this, I started playing more often, and yeah, I'm not sure why, but I ended up being a lot more calm and, well, stressed a lot less often. In this case, though, the relationship didn't work out in the end. I was dumped as usual, but I do have this tool now that I can use whenever I find myself all worked up about something, or in a situation that seems hopeless. While that seemed a bit dark, I will end on a bit of a high note, and that is that video games can be an amazing source of inspiration. Ultimately, they are just another source of entertainment, like, books, musics, movies, TV shows and so on, but the act of experiencing a game is, in some way, it's so much more sort of personal. It's a piece of entertainment that you are interacting with, and because of this, you might end up finding a piece of a game that, well, it ends up resonating with you in some way. This could be like the characters, the storytelling, or the music, or even the art and graphics. I mean, how many people might have ended up going into computer science and studying computers because they wanted to learn how video games were made and how to make their own? Another example could be, has anyone gone in to study architecture because of Minecraft, or like law because of Ace Attorney? For me, I've always been weirdly interested in pixel art, but it was never something I stuck with. Since starting with Stardew Valley, it's something I really do want to give another shot, see if I can make any progress. Going back in time, one of the main YouTube channels that really got me into watching video games and Let's Play content was the Yogscast, if you know of them. I really loved watching their original Minecraft series, and it was something I looked forward to whenever new episodes were released. That alone makes me think that, perhaps in some way, even back then the idea of making my own YouTube channel and videos was planted in my mind. I was just like 15 years late. Now, this all sounds great, doesn't it? So play video games, and they can help you health-wise, financially, mentally, and can even inspire you to pursue your dreams. Well, I'm afraid this isn't the case. Playing video games won't actively sort these things out for you. Like they won't fix your life. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, that's something that we all have to work out ourselves. What they can do, though, is act as a much less harmful alternative, or perhaps even a distraction to other coping mechanisms. While this does still make it sound like video games are a bit of a waste of time, I found that you can't be productive, working on the grind all the time, 24/7, hustling, and that there's no harm from indulging from time to time while working towards your goals.